Good morning, Magic players and card collectors of all kinds. I'm actually filming this on a Friday, spoilers, but you guys will see this on Sunday. My dad's out for a bit, so I thought I would try and knock out the deck profile of the week for you guys. And since I mentioned it, it's time for Super Deck Sunday! Sunday! Yes, I remembered this week. Just going to do a quick watermelon check. If you guys saw the video yesterday, you will know that Kaiba was trying some watermelon. As of the current filming, he has not eaten any more of it. Are you coming over to try another piece? You have another piece of watermelon? What do you think? What do you think? No? 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 Put it back over on the plate. Perhaps you'll eat it again later after lunch. I'm going to make the Super Deck Sunday video, and then I'm going to make our lunch. Okay? You're a good boy. Yes. So I was going to do a Yu-Gi-Oh deck this week, but I've decided I'm going to do the Yu-Gi-Oh deck next week. Because in keeping with tradition, what I would like to do this week is present to you guys the deck profile of the completed 1-100 deck that we just worked on for the better part of a month and almost a half, I think. Pretty sure there was only 4, maybe 5 episodes, but it was a long go. I don't know if that messed up the video or not. I apologize if it did. There's this weird issue with my phone that if I press a certain button at the same time as another button, it somehow, for whatever reason, summons Gemini. And for the record, Google Gemini. Suck it. I don't like you. Bringing back Ask Jeeves. Bringing back Tom. The good old days. If you know what I'm talking about, you know, and if you don't, you're one of the newer kids around, and congratulations on not having to deal with dial-up, because that was definitely a challenge. So, sorry, rubbing my eyes. Also, because we completed the deck, and because I did the 4 weeks at work, I decided that we are going to do a bundle at the end of this video. So, yeah, cool way to end this profile. If you've been following 1-100, you know that the deck in question is my Marina's house of 1,000-ish rooms. So Marina Vendrell is the commander, and she is Wooburg cost for 3/5. When she enters, you reveal the top 7 cards of your library, put all enchantment cards from among them into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and then you can tap her to lock or unlock a door of target room you control. You can only do it at sorcery speed, but it is still a really neat little mechanic in the deck, and the deck plays out in a very interesting way, so I'm just going to set things out for us accordingly, because I would like to cover the profile in the order that I felt would be best to present it, and I don't want to spoil things. I didn't realize how many of those were upside down. Are they all upside down? They are all upside down. That's interesting. Oh. Oh, I think I had to keep going. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then this pile. Bear with me. 2 more piles. 1 and 2. Okay, so if you followed the series of 1-100 over the last month and a half, you know that the original decision I made building this deck was that I was going to do an entirely one set deck. So, based on Duskmourn, House of Horror, the entire deck would be built only out of those cards. And after completing the deck and giving it a lot of thought, I realized that while I do like that flavor to the deck, um, ultimately I wanted the deck to function a little bit better. So what I've done is I've actually left it as I've pulled 3 cards out and I've added 3 new cards in. And these, the cards that I added in are not from Duskmourn. So, if I want to play it as a bracket 1 deck, I can play it as a bracket 1 by putting these 3 cards back in and playing it as entirely one set for a commander deck, which is fun. But if I decide I don't want to play it as a bracket 1 and I'd like to play it as a little bit more powerful, I can play it as a bracket 2 with the 3 cards that I added in. So the cards that I took out are Infernal Phantom, and mainly the reason for that was simply that it has to actually die to do anything fun. Otherwise, it's just getting an extra +2/+0. And while granted, I might unlock 3 or 4 rooms in a turn and might boost it to like power 8/3, which is pretty badass. Ultimately, I decide, you know what? I think that I would rather not have to like get it killed off to do damage. It would be nice if the damage was just done automatically when the battle, whenever I attacked, say, or something, or it was dealt damage itself. Anywho, so I decided to pull that one. I decided to also pull the Glimmer Light because although I do get a Glimmer enchantment token, which is nice, otherwise it's really just giving me +1/+1 for equip 1, which is not really highly necessary in this deck. And finally, I pulled Shardmaid's Rescue. I do like the ability to flash this in, and it does only cost 1, which is nice. But the Hexproof only lasts 1 turn, and then it basically is just the same as the Glimmer Light. It's giving you 1 thing for 1 turn that's nice, and then it's just a +1/+1. So it really felt like those two weren't overly helpful in the deck, and this one just requires me to constantly want to try and kill it off and then find ways to bring it back, which there are ways to do that, per se, but it's not going to be as easy as it could be. So those 3 I decided, like I say, to pull out. And as we go through, I'm going to point out the 3 cards that I put in. First, though, I would like to cover the lands. So those who haven't seen the series, you wouldn't have seen these yet, but for those who have, this will be just a quick refresher. We have a command tower in here because I felt like... So with the lands, I wanted them all to either fit the Duskmourn theme, if they weren't Duskmourn lands, because I don't have a lot of Duskmourn lands. So I wanted them to have like a room-like theme to the lands. And so Command Tower felt like it fit really well. It could be like on the side of the house. An exotic orchard could take place inside the yard of the house, the grounds of the house. I included the hall card and the billiard room card that I got from my Clue crossover kit. I included the Terramorphic Expanse from Duskmourn, even though, to be perfectly honest, this is one of my least favorite Terramorphic Expanses, but it was from the series, so sadly I did not have a, I'm not sure if they actually had one, to be perfectly honest. There's Terramorphic Expanse, and then there's, shoot, I always forget the name of the other one when I don't have both of them in the same hand. You know which one I'm thinking of. And so I don't know if Duskmourn has one or not, but if it does, I don't have a copy of it. That wasn't in a commander deck. I included as many of the 13 or less life lands as possible that I owned. So I have the Etched Cornfield, I have the Peculiar Lighthouse, I have the Abandoned Campground, the Lakeside Shack, and the Bleeding Woodlands. I believe there's just 5. Oh, nope, I have 6. And the Razor Trap Gorge. Pardon me. So, yeah. Oh, I have 7. Murky Sewer. Yeah, okay, I just have 7. I thought all these would be kind of really neat because, again, they all go directly from the set, so I included them for that main reason. They don't really fit necessarily the house theme, but they came with the set that the house cards are in, so yeah. And then, like I say, I just kind of wanted to include things that either had archways or had walls or seemed like they were like homes of some sort. That one mainly is like it resembles a lot of staircases and stuff, I thought. There are 5 of each basic, and if I had any Duskmourn ones, I included them. Otherwise, like I say, I just kind of tried to do the whole theme on point as much as I could. I had a lot of white Duskmourn lands, so I included 3 of those. Then I don't think I had any green ones. But I thought the stained glass one looked nice as like a window possibly in the house. And that's the same reason why I included the swamp. And I did have a Duskmourn full art swamp, which is the only full art Duskmourn card land that I have. But it is a beauty. I'm really happy with that one. Being in the deck. And so we are going to look at next we might as well just get into it because we know what this deck is about. This is the core of our deck. It is the rooms core. So these are all the things that have rooms in them or that are triggered by rooms. But first and foremost, I'm going to present to you the 2 win cons of the deck, the main win cons. There is a third kind of win con, but it really isn't a good one. And it's mainly just in there as like if I'm really screwed, I can at least try and win through this. But I know I probably won't. Anywho, so the 2 win cons of the deck are Central Elevator and Promising Stairs. Promising Stairs being the win con. So, Central Elevator. When you unlock this door, you search your library for a room card that doesn't have the same name as a room you currently control. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it's a nice little tutor for any of the other rooms. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you can surveil 1, and you win the game if there are 8 or more different names among unlocked doors of rooms you control. So if you unlock both of these, you're already 2 rooms in to an 8-room requirement to win the game. And that is the main win con that we want to try and win through. And if we are playing an inset deck, the bracket 1 deck that I mentioned earlier, this is the only real win con in the deck other than the kind of sort of mini win con thing that isn't really a win con that I talked about. The other win con is the card that I talked about wanting to include in the deck a while ago and ultimately decided not to because it wasn't part of the set, and that is the Door to Nothingness. I think that just fits so well with this deck, though. It clearly is a door to another room that somebody unlocks, and then when they step through it, they instantly die. So the Door to Nothingness, when it enters the battlefield, it enters tapped, and then you have to pay double Wooburg and tap it to sacrifice it, and automatically somebody loses the game. I just feel like that's so good inside House of Horrors. Like, it just fits the theme so well. But I looked at the set online, like the card list for the set, and it is not a card that was included in the set, so I could not include it in the deck as like, hey, this card is in here, but it's just not, actually part of it. Anywho. Yeah, those are the 2 win cons. And then to achieve our win cons, we have a few things in the deck. First off, we have to try and make sure that we can get our win cons back, in particular if they get destroyed or if we happen to use the Door to Nothingness. I've included Malevolent Chandelier. I like this card. It is a card that I've used in a few other decks, but it's not the same card. It's like, it has the same flavor and style, but it's a completely different card name. So, what this thing does is you have to pay 6 to put into play, then you get a flying 4/4, but the main reason I'm putting in the deck is because I can pay 2 to put a card in my graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library, or from a graveyard into the bottom of its owner's library. This is really good, except for the fact that it's only sorcery speed, so I can't use it to like mess with my opponents when they're trying to fetch something. But I can still get the Door to Nothingness back constantly using this, which is pretty good. Or if my room gets destroyed, I can put it back into the bottom of the deck, etc., etc. The cards that are going to help me achieve the main win con of the deck are as follows, though. I have Marvin Murderous Mimic, Loreth of the Healing House, and Clever Conjurer. So these two are the other two cards that are add-ins. So if I want to play a Bracket 2 deck, I add these 3 cards in. And if I want to play a Bracket 1 deck, I play these 3 cards. So Clever Conjurer taps to untap target permanent not named Clever Conjurer. You can only do it at sorcery speed. And then Loreth of the Healing House, untap target permanent, or untap 2 other target legendary creatures. So, the idea is, Murderous Mimic has the ability that he has all the activated abilities of other creatures you control that don't have the same name as him. So, you get Marina and him on board. And then you can use Marina's ability to tap and unlock a room or lock a room. And you can tap him to do the same ability that Marina has, and either unlock the same door you just locked, or you can pick a different room, whatever. And then you tap Loreth of the Healing House and untap these 2, since they're both legendaries. And then you can do those 2 again to do another 2 rooms. And then you tap the Clever Conjurer and untap Loreth of the Healing House, so you can tap her again to untap these 2. And basically in one turn you can unlock or lock up to 6 doors. That makes that a lot of fun for the deck. And by comparison, I think that's a lot more on point with the flavor that I was trying to achieve in this deck. But, like I say, those ones weren't in the set either, of course, so... Somebody called and hung up on my dad. And with that mentioning of the main goal of the deck, we will now get into our rooms. So there are another 18 room cards in this deck for a total of up to 38 rooms that I can unlock or lock. So we've got the Surgical Suite and the Hospital Room. When you unlock the first one, you get a creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And whenever you attack, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature once you've unlocked the other one. Grand Entryway, when you unlock it, you get a Glimmer Enchantment creature token. And when you unlock the other one, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So these are the kinds of rooms where you want to lock them and unlock them repeatedly in a turn, so you can get multiple tokens, multiple +1/+1 counters. Dazzling Theater, Prop Room. Creature spells you cast have Convoke, so you can tap other creatures to pay the cost of the colorless mana. And then Prop Room is really good because you can untap each creature you control during each other player's untap step. The downside is Marina's ability is a sorcery speed thing, which means that the Murderous Mimic's ability will also be a sorcery speed thing. And therefore you won't be able to do any unlocking or locking of rooms on your opponent's turns. But you will at least have blockers. And that's still pretty good, I think. And then we have Meat Locker and Drowned Diner. So when you unlock the first one, you get to tap up to 1 target creature and put 2 stun counters on it. And then when you unlock the second one, you draw 3 cards and discard a card. So it's a good way to get to our rooms faster, get to our win con. Bottomless Pool. When you unlock the first one, you return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. When you unlock the second one, 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. Mirror Room and Fractured Realm. This one's pretty powerful, to be honest. When you unlock the first one, you get to create a token that is a copy of target creature you control, except as a reflection in addition to its other creature types. The only downside is it won't be... it will still have the legendary rule applied, so if you targeted the commander, it won't work. But you could target the Clever Conjurer, and then have an extra copy of him on board to untap the Wrath one more time, and in turn get an extra 2 rooms. And then on the other hand, if a triggered ability of a permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So every time that I would tap Marina or the Mimic, I would get to actually unlock and lock 2 doors. So if this is on board, I can do up to, potentially, and if I get the token on board, potentially it could be doing up to 16 rooms, and then more tokens means more rooms. Like, it just gets kind of insane how many rooms and stuff I could unlock and lock. If there was some way to actually deal damage by doing that, that would be amazing. Underwater Tunnel and Slimy Aquarium. When you unlock this door, you get to Surveil 2, and then the other side, when you unlock the door, you manifest Dread, then put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. This is the only room I will not unlock in the game, regardless of which deck I'm playing, whether it's bracket 1 or bracket 2. Manifesting Dread is the worst idea for this particular deck because if I put my win con face down, I will never be able to use it. The only win con I might be able to use is the weak win con that's sitting over here. And even that one, I really don't want to necessarily manifest Dread. So, Derelict Attic. When you unlock this door, you get to draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. And then the other side, Widow's Walk. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+0 and Death Touch until end of turn, which is pretty cool. I do like that. Love me some Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, you get to draw a card if you control a demon, and each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Otherwise, you lose 2 life. This one's kind of dangerous, because you have to make sure that you trigger the right-hand side first. When you unlock the right-hand side, you get to make a 6/6 black demon creature token with flying. So if you're going to unlock the left side, you have to make sure that you've unlocked the right side, because there are no other demons in this deck as far as I remember. I think I took the only one that was potentially going to go in the deck out, because I thought it would be better in an actual Demon's deck itself. Defiled Crypt, 3 and a black. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you get to make a 2/2 black horror enchantment creature token. And then whenever you unlock this door, you get to return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is a solid one to keep doing on and off. And then you get a whole bunch of extra tokens. Funeral Room, 2 and a black. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. And then Awakening Hall, when you unlock this door, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is kind of like a, in case of emergency, break glass door, because I can get back Marina and all the other cards if I get board wiped, as long as I don't also lose my enchantments, which is pretty nice. Ticket Booth and Tunnel of Hope, or Hate, sorry, I mean. When you unlock the first side, you manifest Dread. Again, I'm not going to be unlocking that room. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gains double strike until end of turn. That one I'm going to be unlocking as much as I possibly can, though, because that is pretty good. Double strike plus the creature also getting +1/+0 and Death Touch is an insanely good combo. Glassworks and Shattered Yard. When you unlock the first one, it deals 4 damage to target creature an opponent controls. At the beginning of your end step, this room deals 1 damage to each opponent. I like the Shattered Yard. Painter Studio and Deface Gallery. Whenever you unlock a door, exile the top 2 cards of your library, then you can play them until your next turn. I'm not a huge fan of that kind of mechanic, but if worse comes to worse, it's available. The other side, though, whenever you attack, attacking creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So now, that creature that attacks alone will get +2/+0, Death Touch, and Double Strike, which is insane. Greenhouse, lands you control have tapped add 1 mana of any color, which is phenomenal for this deck. And then Rickety Gazebo, whenever you unlock this door, you mill 4 cards and return up to 2 permanent cards from among them to your hand. Probably not unlocking that very often, to be honest. That's kind of a risky one to unlock, because you can only get stuff that actually went to the graveyard as a result of unlocking it back to your hand. But the Greenhouse is an insanely good one to include. Moldering Gym and Weight Room. Whenever you unlock the first one, you get to search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. When you unlock the second one, you manifest Dread, then put 3 +1/+1 counters on the creature. Again, probably not doing that, but this is helpful if I'm in a pinch for lands. Restricted Office, 2 and 2 white. When you unlock this door, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. That is pretty insane. The only downside to that is it is going to kill Marina. It won't kill the Murderous Mimic, though. Nor will it kill the Conjurer or Loreth. So the only one I would have to replay if I use that ability would be my commander itself. And if I had the right room out, as we've already seen, I could probably get her back to the battlefield. And then Lecture Hall, other permanents you control have Hexproof. You want to get that one done early so that your win con can't be targeted by anything else until this gets cleared off first. And then the last room is Smoky Lounge and Misty Salon. At the beginning of your first main phase, you get to add 2 red, but you can only use it to cast rooms and unlock doors, which is fine. And then whenever you unlock this door, you make an XX blue spirit creature token with flying, where X is the number of currently doors that are currently unlocked among rooms you control. So essentially, you could be making a really big token a bunch of times per turn, again, with the turning and unturning in Bracket 2 version of the deck. And the Bracket 2 version is definitely the version that I'm more interested in playing, to be perfectly honest, but I do like the fact that I have a Bracket 1 version available. The final few cards in this pile happen to just be some simple things that benefit from the rooms stuff that's going on, or that let me do the extra room thing that I want to do. So, this one, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, or whenever you unlock a room completely, so you have to unlock both sides, unfortunately, to make that work, you get a 1/1 red gremlin creature token, which is pretty nice. Balmerk Leech. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, and whenever you fully unlock a room, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is a fun one that if you have both one side unlocked, you can unlock and lock the other side repeatedly and drain people's life. That is technically a way to win the game with this deck, but it's a pretty difficult one to pull off, I would think, since they only lose 1 life each time that happens. Scrabbling Skullcrab, another one that kind of seems like a win con potentially, but you would again have to be really good at just getting stuff to happen repeatedly on 1 turn. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, or whenever you fully unlock a room, target player mills 2 cards, so you could technically mill somebody out if you did it enough times. Erratic Apparition, this one has flying and vigilance, and whenever an enchantment enters or you fully unlock a room, this thing gets an extra +1/+1 until end of turn, becoming a 2/4, then a 3/5, and so on and so forth. So it can get pretty beefed up. That is the reason why I picked this one over the red one, is simply because this one has vigilance, so I don't have to tap it to attack. If I don't happen to have that room that untaps all my creatures, I still have a nice little blocker for later on. And then we've got Ghostly Keybearer, flying, and whenever this thing deals combat damage to a player, I get to do another door. So it's an extra trigger per turn, plus if that one thing is unlocked, I think I can actually get a second trigger off of it. And finally, Keys to the House, another one that's just going to let me either search my library for basic land if I'm stuck, or I can sacrifice it to lock or unlock another door. And again, if I have the chandelier out, I can get this key back repeatedly to my deck and play it again and again and again. Alright, let's show you the interaction in this deck. There is plenty of interaction going on in this deck, including a couple of enchantments and creatures, actually. So this one. Enchant creature you control. When this thing enters, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until this thing leaves the battlefield. And then the enchanted creature has +1/+0 and has lifelink and ward 2. Mainly I'm putting this in here for that backup stuff. It's nice to attach that to Marina or the doll or something else. Or to attach it to the alternate win con that's over here, because that's the one that I'm going to be attacking with the more often than not, that gets the +2/+0, the death touch, the double strike, and now it would also have lifelink and ward 2, which is insane, plus an extra +1/+0. So, that is in there mainly for that, but it does also let me remove something that is troublesome, as long as it's not land. Jump Scare. Until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+2, gains flying, becomes a horror enchantment creature type in addition to its other types. I just love the flavor text personally. Boo! Split Up is probably one of my favorite cards in this deck. I can either destroy all tap creatures or all untap creatures, since all my stuff keeps untapping. Basically going to use this once it's gone back around to my turn, and wipe out everybody's stuff that they've tapped, potentially. Enter the Enigma. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Draw a card. Pretty straightforward. Some of these cards are in here mainly because there was just so many cards that were available in Duskmourn, and so, like that one, for example, there's plenty of other cards that I probably could have put in that were better. But the alternate win con does like doing combat damage, so that is a positive one for it. Fear of Imposters is technically a creature, but it has flash, and it acts as a counter spell, so I kind of like that. Plus, I'm not the one who has to deal with the Manifest Dread. I do that to my opponent. So that, I think, is an extra bonus. Because it could doubly screw them if it sets, say, a Planeswalker face down or something like that they need. Don't make a sound. Another counter spell. Pretty straightforward. If they counter the counter, I get to surveil too. Get out. Counter target creature or enchantment spell. Return 1 or 2 target creatures and or enchantments you own to your hand. This is a nice little one to save some stuff if it's going to be destroyed, or I can just use it as a counter spell. Twist Reality. 1 and 2 blue. Counter spell. Again, I'm not going to Manifest Dread with this, obviously, but it is a nice little counter spell for 1 and 2 blue. Glimmer Burst. Draw 2 cards. Create a white 1/1 Glimmer creature token. It's a little expensive, but again, there's only so many cards in this set. Murder. Classic. Perfect for getting rid of a pesky creature. Let's Play a Game is one of my favorites from this set for sure, just because of the flavor that it has with regards to the Saw movies. If you have 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, you can choose 1 or more instead of just only choosing 1. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Each opponent discards 2 cards. Each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. If I don't have the 4 card types, chances are I'm going with that. But if I do have the 4 card types, I'll do all 3 probably. Live or Die, again, another Saw flavor. Back-to-back Saw flavor cards for sure. Return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Nice little way to get Marina back. Or destroy a creature. I grant them the illusion of hope so that their despair grows ever sweeter. Thalgoth. Give in to violence. Target creature gets +2/+2 and lifelink until end of turn. Final Vengeance. You have to sacrifice a creature or enchantment, probably one of my rooms, to be honest, to exile target creature. But there are tokens that I could potentially get rid of too. 1 and a red deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die, it gets exiled. Nice little way to clear off a planeswalker that is troublesome permanently. Violent Urge. Target creature gets +1/+0 and first strike until end of turn. If there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, it gets double strike instead. Nice, nice. Trial of Agony. Choose 2 target creatures controlled by the same opponent. That player chooses one of the creatures and gets 5 damage dealt to that creature, and the other one can't block this turn. So if you pick 2 creatures that are definitely going to die regardless of the 5 damage, then you can get around 2 blockers in one turn, which is nice. Grab the Prize, 1 and a red. You have to discard a card to cast it, but you get to draw 2 cards, so good for fetching something. And then if the discarded card wasn't a land, you also get to deal 2 damage to each opponent, which is a nice little bonus. Monstrous Emergence. You have to choose a creature you control, or reveal a creature from your hand to use this. And then this thing deals damage equal to the power of the creature you chose to target creature. Could be your own, but chances are I'm never going to do that. Beastie Beatdown. Choose a creature you control and a creature your opponent controls. If there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, you get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on your creature, and then the 2 creatures fight. Or no, actually your creature just deals damage equal to its power to the creature your opponent controls. Nice! Not fighting, biting. Even better. And then drag to the roots to a... Oh, there's 2 more here, pardon me. 2, a black and a green. Cost 2 less if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. Destroy target non-land permanent. Midnight Mayhem is the last one, that's right. Create 3 1/1 gremlin creature tokens, and then all your gremlins gain Menace, Lifelink, and Haste until end of turn. So we have that one room that is making a whole bunch of gremlins too. So in theory, if we can make enough gremlins with it, and then we make more gremlins with this, we have a whole bunch of gremlins to swing with. Alright, we've got 3 random cards to show you. I've got a Haunted Screen, which I think is an insanely good mana dork. So it's an artifact, so it can't be targeted as a creature until you turn it into one. And taps for white or black, or you can pay a life and get any color. And then you can pay 7 and put 7 +1/+1 counters on this thing. It becomes a creature in addition to its other types. And yeah, it just is a badass beater or an extra blocker. But the best part is, once you've turned it into a creature, then you can tap it and untap it for mana every turn with that one enchantment that untaps all your creatures. So that's pretty cool too. The Balustrade Worm I largely put this in here for flavor. It's basically the steps of the house coming alive. So like Monster House essentially going on, which I thought was really good. But I also like the fact that it is a spell that can't be countered, it has trample and haste, and then in that one enchantment that I showed you earlier that gives lifelink and ward 2, imagine that attached to this thing. And then in addition to that, you can also return this thing from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it, if you have 4 or more card types in your graveyard. I'm not going to do that very often probably in a game, but it is nice to have that as an option. And then the final option, random card in here, is actually not as random as I'm about to show you, but it is sort of random with the rest of the deck, in that it is the only survival card that I included in the deck. It costs a lot for a 3/4 that does very little unless you can actually get it to survive. But at the beginning of your second main phase, if you have this thing tapped for some reason and it didn't die, you can choose a creature card in your graveyard with mana value 3 or less and return it to your hand. The main reason to put that in here is for the final win con, per se, of the deck, which happens to be Arabella Abandoned Doll. So, if all else fails, whenever Arabella Abandoned Doll attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. Basically, all of my tokens, with the exception of the demon tokens, are going to have power 2 or less. Most of the other creatures that I control in this game have power 2 or less as well. And the main reason to include this in here is that I can get Arabella back every time this thing manages to tap and not die. So I expect Arabella to get targeted a lot and get removed a lot, and this is my way to get her back from the graveyard repeatedly if, say, the enchantments that can do that aren't available. So, yeah, really, really good card, for sure. I might eventually build a commander deck around her because I do have a second copy and I like her. She's kind of fun. Enduring Innocence is another one with power 2 or less. A 2/1 for 1 and 2 white. Has lifelink. Whenever one or more creatures with you control a power 2 or less enter, you get to draw a card. So it only happens once per turn, but it's going to happen with any of the tokens that are coming into play, which is nice. And then whenever it dies, it comes back as an enchantment. So nice little bonus there. Ragged Playmate, pay 1, tap it. Target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. If Arabella never gets powered up by anything, then she should be able to attack repeatedly. But even if I were to power her up with this one, she would only be a 2/3, and she would have lifelink and ward 2. And she'd still be able to get the trigger off of this, where she'd be able to attack unblocked. And if I can get her through unblocked, then essentially that basically means that I'm going to get to do the damage thing and have her available as a blocker later on, possibly, if I have that one enchantment out. Or she's just available on future turns without having been killed in the crossfire. Irreverent Gremlin is another gremlin that happens to be in this deck. It already has Menace. And whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters, you can discard a card if you do get to draw a card. Only once per turn, but again, it's just another one like the Glimmer that helps me get through my deck quicker to find my win cons. Osseous Stick Twister, sorry. 1 and a black, lifelink, 2/2. At the beginning of your damage step, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, each opponent may sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Then this thing deals damage equal to its power to each opponent who didn't sacrifice a permanent or discard a card. So, yeah. I don't think you get the lifelink off of that. I could be wrong. That's something I have to double check. But I'm pretty sure lifelink only comes through on combat damage. 2 and a white for a 2/4. Whenever this thing attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and get indestructible until end of turn. So if I can't get it to be unblockable, then at least I can make it indestructible, and Arabella will still get through, which is the main goal. And then finally, Clammy Prowler. Whenever this thing attacks, another target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. It's just another one that will let me make her unblockable so that I don't have to worry about her dying. And yeah, that is the deck. So, like I say, if I take out the 3 cards that I added in to make it a bracket 2 deck, I have a full Duskmourn deck at bracket 1, which is pretty cool still. And that's why I'm going to leave these 3 cards with this deck regardless. I don't have the money to buy extra sleeves right now, so I'm not sleeving this one up. I still want to test out the Gates deck first before I decide whether I'm going to put it away as just like a deck that I have, or maybe even sell it. But I really would like to test this deck out at some point. So yeah. In the meantime, in between time though, let's dig into this real quick before my dad gets home, and then go make Kaiba that lunch. Ripping it open, what do we got? Whoop. It's stuck at the top. Oh, the glue got caught into it. Alright, we got 4 packs. No sleeves, but no real pack of cards, unfortunately. So we'll do the same thing we did the last time that we pulled one of these like this. We're going to go in descending order. We'll do the 10 cards, then the 6, then the 4, then the 3. And then, like I say, next week I'll do a Yu-Gi-Oh deck for the Yu-Gi-Oh fans. I apologize to you guys. I just wasn't sure if I was going to have time to get the other deck done, but I did. And I'm very happy about that. But I just, I like doing the deck profile of the 1-100 deck immediately after it's completed so that I can just be done with that chapter kind of thing, if you know what I mean. Frostlinks. When enters battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. It's a 2/2 for 2 and a blue. Not bad. Not bad. Ooh, Duskrider Falcon. 1/1 for 1 and a white. Is it old school? It is! 97! Flying and protection from black. Cool. That's probably going to make it into my bird deck. I assume a falcon actually is now, like, eroded to be a bird. Silverbolt. 1 to put into play, 3 to tap it and sacrifice it, and it deals 3 damage to target creature. If that creature is a werewolf, it automatically is destroyed. Aw, I like werewolves. Ooh, Sarah Redeemer. That's a cool card. 3 and 2 white for a 2/4 flying. Whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters, put 2+1/+1 counters on that creature. Damn. That is really cool. Don't think that's going to work super well in my Angel deck, though, but I bet there's other decks that I can put that into. Very cool pull. Pull of the day, possibly. Wand of Vertebrae. 1 to put into play. Tap it and put the top card of your library into your graveyard. Ew. Pay 2, tap, exile this thing, shuffle 5 target cards from your graveyard into your library. Interesting. I suppose that works really well in a deck that, like, focuses on Sir Conrad and Dreadhound as a combo. Barrow Naughty. 1 and a black for 1/3 fairy, flying. Has lifelink as long as you control another fairy. Ooh. I do have a fairy elf deck I want to eventually build. And 2 and a black, and this thing gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Nice. Aetherstorm Rock. 2 and 2 white, flying bird. 3/3. When it or another creature you control enters the battlefield, you get energy. Whenever this thing attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, you get to put +1/+1 counter on it and tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. Damn, that's pretty badass. That could go into my bird deck too. My bird deck might be getting a serious upgrade. Toonvale Guide. 3 and a white for a 2/2. Flare, another fairy, but it's white, so it won't be able to work in the deck I want to build. Flying. Gets +1/+0 and has lifelink as long as 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn. I think that's the first time I've ever pulled a card with Celebration. Never heard of that mechanic. Is it old school? Nope, 2023. Animate Object. 4 and a blue. You get 7 tickets. Okay, this is definitely an unset card, and that is cool because I do want to start building some unset decks eventually. Choose an inanimate object you own from outside of the game. Put a power and toughness sticker on it. You may also put a name sticker on it, an art sticker on it, or an ability sticker on it. Put it onto the battlefield as a creature. Nice. And Sporecrawler, always a fun one to pull because when it dies you get to draw a card, and it's a 3/2 for 2 and a green, so that's a pretty decently stacked creature. Not a bad start, guys. Not a bad start at all. I don't want to mix these up with a deck, so I'm going to put those up there. Or no, I'm going to put those upside down, but up there for now. Put them on top of the lands. There we go. Alright. Let's do you next. Our lands, we got a beautiful island. I haven't pulled one of those ones before. Nice new artwork for me. Go. Oh gosh. I'm going to go with Min Yum, and I hope I'm right. Beautiful Plains. I have pulled that one before, but I love that artwork, so I'm happy with that. Oh, the forest is upside down. The forest is upside down. Pulled that one many times. It's okay. Mountains upside down. I have a couple copies of that one, but I do love the artwork on it. That is one of my favorite types of swamps because it's a nice little cemetery one. And we got 2 copies of it, so hey. Not that I don't have many copies of that one, but I don't mind. Extra swamps is always good too, because I tend to build a lot more black and green than anything else. At least that's the way it seems. Alright, 2 more packs. Just want to make sure that I don't spoil anything out of order, but I don't know how to order that one because that one was just crazy. Spoiled it all for myself, but not for you guys. Artificer's Epiphany. 2 and a blue. Draw 2 cards. If you control no artifacts, you discard a card. That's a pretty decent instant. If my blue deck wasn't so freaking stacked already, I might try and fix that in there somehow, but I don't think there's anything I want to pull out of that mono blue deck right now anymore. Page Loose Leaf. Legendary artifact creature construct. 2 colorless. Taps to add colorless. Grandeur. Discard another card named Page Loose Leaf. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an instant or sorcerer card. Put that card into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Well, this card is basically only useful as a mana dork in Commander. But it is kind of a cool one to pull. And beautiful artwork. So, yeah. I'm happy with it. Throna McKindy. Hollow. Taps to add colorless. Pay 1. Tap it. Put a charge counter on it. Tap it. Remove a charge counter from it. Add 2 mana of any one color. But you can only use it on kick spells. Okay, I had a copy of this already. Don't know if I had a hollow version of it. And I don't play a lot of things with kicked in it. But it's still a cool land. Ooh. New Prov Guildmage. White and blue. Pay white and blue, target creature gains flying until end of turn. That's kind of cool. Pay 3 white and blue, detain target non-land permanent opponent controls. Until your next turn, that permanent can't attack or block and its activated ability. Ooh, neat. I don't know if that's the one I've pulled before, but I have pulled something else that had detain. And I kind of like the idea of detain for one of the decks I want to build eventually. All of those cards are pretty cool. A couple of them I'm not really going to be able to use much, but I still think they're cool. And the final 3 for you and me. This time I'm not going to try and sort it out. I'm just going to reveal them in the order that they come in based on the pack. From the bottom to the top. Here we go. We got... Ooh, I should have went the other way. Elder Deep Fiend, though. 8 for an Eldrazi Octopus with Flash. Emerge for 5 and 2 blue. Whenever you cast this spell, tap up to 4 target permanents. Or not terrible, but not bad. Not bad. What else we got? We got Archon of Justice. Ooh, that's a good one, I think. When it dies, exile on target permanent. That's kind of badass. Flying 4/4, so basically don't block it if you don't want to lose your stuff. Is that old school too? 93 to 2011, no. But I do like the artist's work, so Jason Chan, I'm giving you a shout out. And a Grim Physician. Black for a 1/1. When it dies, target creature and opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end turn. And it's a zombie. Do love zombies. I think the best card of the day, though, has to probably be either the Prov Guild. No, you know what? I think it's the Sarah Redeemer. I think that thing's insane. that thing will pop off like mad in a token deck. Any token deck that makes tokens that have power 2 or less is just going to boost all those tokens like mad. Actually, I've just talked myself into exactly what deck I want to put that in now. Okay. Anyways, let's see if Kaiba ate any watermelon, and then I will get you out of here. I have a feeling he's still sitting by the door, though. Hey, I was right. Did you eat any more watermelon? Nope. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Super Deck Sunday. Sunday. Aw, yes, it's time for the lunch. On our Friday. Much love to you all from Kaiba the Pug and myself to you. Take care. I hope that you guys will have a good rest of your day and a good start to your week. All right. Love you. Bye.